to supply this want of stability and national perseverance, which is the great defect of democratic republics, it was necessary to create a hereditary family, which should be the conservator of general interests and whose power should be founded upon the democratic spirit of the nation. But let opinions differ, as they may concerning the value of these considerations. Let Napoleon be censured for having surmounted his republican laurels with the crown. Let the French people be blamed for having desired and sanctioned this change. Everything is susceptible to controversy. There is one point upon which all who recognize in the emperor a great man must agree, and that is, even if he erred, his intentions should always have been up to the level of his faculties and his capacity. It is the height of inconsistency to ascribe to a great genius all the weaknesses of mediocrity. There are, however, vulgar minds which, jealous of the superiority of merit, seem to revenge themselves by ascribing to it their paltry passions. Thus, instead of comprehending that a great man can be guided only by great conceptions and by reasons of state of the highest and farthest reach, they say Napoleon made himself emperor because he was ambitious. He surrounded himself with illustrious names of the ancient regime to gratify his vanity. He poured out the treasures and the purest blood of France to aggrandize his power and place his brothers upon thrones. And he married an archduchess of Austria in order to have a real princess in his bed. Have I then reigned over pygmies in intelligence who have so little understood me? Said Napoleon at St. Helena in a moment of chagrin. Let his spirit be consoled. The masses have for a long time done him justice. Every day that passes, as it discovers misery which he cured and evil which he extirpated, throws light upon and explains his noble plans and his great ideas, which, as the present darkness, shine all the brighter, stand as luminous beacons, promising and making visible through and beyond the clouds and tempests a future of safety. Chapter 3, Question of the Interior. The different governments which held power successively from 1789 to 1800 obtained, in spite of their excesses, great results. The independence of France had been maintained. The feudal system had been broken up. The salutary principles had been widely spread. Nevertheless, nothing was as yet solidly established. Too many hostile elements stood face to face. At the epoch when Napoleon arrived at power, the true genius of legislation consisted in judging a coup d'oeil of the relations which existed between the past and the present, between the present and the future. It was necessary to solve and answer the following questions. What ideas have passed away, never to return? What ideas must ultimately triumph? Finally, what ideas are susceptible of immediate application and will hasten the reign of those which are destined to prevail? The emperor made by a rapid glance this distinction, and though he distinctly foresaw the possibilities of the future, he confined his action to the realization of present possibilities. The great difficulty in revolutions is to avoid confusion in popular ideas. The duty of every government is to oppose false ideas and to guide true ideas by placing itself boldly at their head. For if instead of guiding, a government allows itself to be led, it hastens to destruction and compromises society instead of protecting it. The emperor acquired so easily his immense ascendancy because he was the representative of the true ideas of his age. As to harmful ideas, he never attacked them in front, but always in flank, parleying and negotiating with them, and finally reducing them to submission by his moral influence. For he knew that violence is unavailing and worthless against ideas. Having always an object in view, he employed, according to circumstances, the most prompt means to attain it. What was his ultimate object? Liberty. Yes, liberty. And the more one studies the history of Napoleon, the more will he be convinced of this truth. For liberty is like a river. In order that it may bring abundance and not devastation, it is necessary to prepare for it a broad and deep channel. If in its regular and majestic course it remains within its natural limits, the regions which it traverses bless its passage. But if it comes like an overflowing torrent, it is regarded as the most terrible of calamities. It awakens every form of distrust. And then one sees men in their prejudice reject liberty because she may also destroy, as if one should banish fire because it may burn, or water because it may inundate. But it is said liberty was not secured by the imperial laws. The name of liberty was not, it is true, placed at the head of every law or placarded at every public square, but every law of the empire prepared for its peaceful and certain reign. What? In the contrary, there exist parties exasperated against each other and violent mutual hatreds. It is necessary that these parties disappear and these hatreds be pacified before liberty is possible. When in a country it becomes thoroughly democratic, like France, the principle of equality is not generally applied. It must be introduced to all the laws before liberty is possible. When there is neither public spirit, nor religion, nor political faith, it is necessary to create at least one of these elements before liberty is possible.